Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. President Joey Acuña Junior,
Here.
Vice President Jocelyn Vargas. Here. Clerk Silvia Paz. Trinidad Arredondo.
Present.
Valerie Garcia. Present. Jesus Gonzalez.
Here.
Thomas Tortes. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move into the number 2 oath of office for the newly re-elected members of the board. If we can get that. If the 3 board members would accompany the superintendent.
One by one. Yeah, one by one. I, Jocelyn Vargas, do solemnly swear
I, Jocelyn Vargas, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support sorry,
Support and defend
support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that
that I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. If you could sign here, please. If you put your right hand. I, Trinidad Arredondo,
I, Trinidad Arredondo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and allegiance
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
and allegiance
And allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Okay,
Thank you.
Congratulations. Sign here. I, Jesus Gonzalez,
I, Jesus Gonzalez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I'll support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I'll bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I'll well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties about which I am about to enter.
Very good.
Thank you, Dr.
Congratulations, board members, for another 4 years.
We're going to take a couple of minutes if you guys want to take pictures. I know some of your family members are here. If you guys wanted to take a quick picture with them. Go ahead. Hey, get a picture. I'm in the back going.
The backdrop.
Congratulations on that, on your reelection and swearing in. Okay, moving on, item 3. Board Member Boss is going to be a little late, so we're going to move item 3 after we come back from closed session. So the full board can be here for that. Moving on. Item 4, closed session, public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board regarding any closed session items within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. Please complete a request to address the governing board form and hand it to the recording secretary. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. And these are all personnel items, so we'll go ahead and do them all right now, if you guys are good with that. Alicia?
Every week. I mean, when you have a board meeting. I'm sorry, I missed the other one. I was sick, but I'm here. I don't understand. I do understand, but I'm surprised that my members are not here. Today I had experience in the library. One member walked in and Zoom. She was very quiet. And all of a sudden she yelled and I would turn around. And she said, I got my position here in the school. I haven't slept for 2 weeks. Anxiety was so high. And I go, I'm sorry. You're not over there. I'm over there. Okay. So that's what we all feeling. We took the majority. Okay. Now back to my position. I still understand how come we became a 12-month, 8 hours and now to 10, 5. Somebody asked me, where are you right now? I don't know. I did a book fair for 8 days. I was surprised that I made the amount because I was close back and forth because we had a read across America. I was surprised that the kids were coming, not only students, but parents, and said to me, I remember when I was little and I had a book, we had a book fair in our school and I went and buy stuff as an adult. Now there are adults. And well, the days go on. We did good. Besides the rain, the wind, on Wednesday I closed because we had the Read Across America. We did good. At the end, I was surprised. When I was cleaning up, I put a lot of hours that I don't get paid. And I don't say anything to the principal. I just do it because of my heart. At least 6 hours I did put into it, but I'm getting paid. When I did the last box, I said to myself, look, would I be able to do that at 10 months, 5 hours? And I said, maybe this will be my last one. There's no way. We have proved to you in the past why we were 12 months and 8 hours. To give us 10, 5, yes, I'm very disappointed because I'm hurting the students and the parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ceci, Cecia, did I pronounce that correctly? Kupil, I apologize.
Hello, my name is Cecia, and I wrote something. So I'm here today as a concerned parent and an advocate for my son and his fellow peers. My son's name is Damon, and he attends Miss Alvarado's combo class with first and kindergarten. I just want to take a moment to talk about something that I believe is incredibly important: the value of dedicated school aides in the classrooms and why combining lower and higher grade class was not the best interest of our students and should not be allowed in the future. First of all, I just want to share a little bit about my son. He loves his teacher and his school aide, Miss Jenny. He looks forward to seeing her every day, and not just because she helps him with his lesson plans, but because she provides consistent support and encouragement. I believe that Damon's experience is not unique. I believe most of our students feel the same way. For children like Damon who benefit from personalized attention, the presence of a school aide makes all the difference. And I also believe that it helps minimize teacher burnout. I understand that decisions are made based on budgets, and combining grades might feel like a solution to save resources. However, I feel like we must ask what's in the best interest of our students. Combining younger students with older ones might sound like a way to utilize resources efficiently, but it can have unintended consequences. Sorry. When we mix grades, we risk losing critical, individualized support that students need to build solid foundations. The younger students are different from those of the older students and are trying to serve both at the same classroom. Especially without the dedicated aides, we will likely dilute each support each student receives. In conclusion, I ask that you consider the long-term impact of combining grade levels could have on children's education. I believe that our students need the individualized attention that the school aides provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rachel Kuhn.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet President Cunha, and Superintendent Esparza. My name is Rachel Quilland, and I stand before you today as a teacher, an instructional coach, and a parent of a fourth grader who is a student at CVUSD. I've been a teacher with the district for 10 years, and this will be my fourth time receiving a RIF notice. However, I'm happy to say each time I have had my notice rescinded. What leads to my point is, why are there always more teachers riffed than necessary? This year, the resolution stated 48. However, 110 teachers were given RIF notices. Not only is this bad for morale at the school site, but also for student learning. As you can imagine, this process is overwhelmingly stressful and unnecessary. And not just for certificated staff, but also for the classified and support staff who are experiencing these rifts as well. Why does HR give out so many when the board only approved 48? Dr. Esparza had said that coaches were safe and that cuts were not going to be made from the classroom, including the coaches. So I ask you, Dr. Esparza, which is it? Because according to the actions taken with the distribution of the RIF notices, your word doesn't seem honest, and I'm confused, and I really want to know why. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rosemary Estrada.
My name is Rosemary Estrada. I'm a parent of 3 students at the Peter Pendleton Elementary.
Move the microphone. It'll come
Oh,
to your mouth. Yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
that's all right. Thank you.
And I'm here to speak of the importance of teacher aides. So the reason that kinder teacher aides are important to have is because they provide individual attention such as classroom dynamics and relationships with our students, parents, and teachers. And they help create positive and effective learning. And they help students who struggle with emotional and behavioral challenges by giving them one-on-one undivided attention, as well as providing additional practice for students who struggle with lessons that are being taught by the teachers. Teacher aides help the teachers focus on planning and instructions and more. My child is in a kinder and first grade class. And in the beginning, she was struggling a lot. But if it wasn't for the teacher's aides' help, she wouldn't be where she is today. So for the first trimester, she got a citizenship award. This one, she's getting an honor roll. She has greatly improved in her grades, and I do believe that it has a lot to do with the teacher's aide, as well as the teacher, well, the help of the teacher's aide, but the teacher really needs the help. So with this being said, I honestly feel that teacher aides do have a great impact in our students and as well in my child's life. And I do hope that they are able to continue to play a big role in our students. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more, just as Carlos. If you can, when you come up, just for the record, let us know your last name. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Guess so. How you doing? So what I'm talking about is CVR Elementary, and year after year, over 90% of the teachers keep getting fired. This is absolutely unacceptable that the CVR Elementary has endured the firing of 90% of its staff, more than its staff, year after year for many consecutive years. This reckless and unjustifiable pattern is not only irresponsible, but also unethical and blatantly illegal. Your actions have severely hindered the education and development of our children. Not only is creating instability, inconsistency, and chaos in their learning environment, but as parents, we refuse to allow this deliberately sabotage of our children's future to continue. You're failing them, and we will not stand for it any longer. Immediate legal action against the district can be prepared for these wrongful terminations of our teachers, which violates not only state, but also federal law. This district belongs to the families and the students it serves, not your corrupt officials playing dangerous political games with our children's future. We advise that you correct the serious and alarming issue. The entire community is watching, and we will not allow this injustice to continue. Either do what is right and undo this disastrous decision. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't have any more. Is that it, buddy? It's all? Okay. Before we go into closed session, just do want to apologize. I did not allow the new elected board members to say a few words after they were sworn in. I was going to do it when they did the pictures, after the pictures, but I forgot. So I'll go ahead and start. Board Member Arredondo, if you'd like to address, have a few words.
Yes, thank you, President Cunha. I'd just like to thank the community for entrusting me for another 4 years. I will continue to do my job as a board member. I'll begin visiting schools, talking to people on the ground that are doing the job and are working with our students. Thank you to everybody that's here. Thank you to everybody that's on Zoom. And we'll just continue to work together. I look forward to hearing your concerns, not only here at a board meeting, but also out in the community and in our schools. And I just continue to hope to serve you and make sure that I keep my dedication to the community that did so much for me as a graduate of this school district. So thank you all for those of you that are here. Thank you all for everything you've done. And I look forward to working side by side with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Board Member Gonzalez.
Jocelyn was gonna go next. Thank you, Mr. Cunha. I'd like to be remiss if I didn't thank my wife, right? Thank you, Sandra, for not always agreeing, but always supporting, right? Now I thank my children. I have Natalia here and my son Jesus. I again, being involved as an elected official it's a difficult job. It as rewarding as it is, it's heartbreaking. We hear people here today complaining about the reality, right? That we have budgetary challenges that require us to make cuts, right? And it doesn't feel good because you know that you're affecting families and lifestyles, but it's the reality of the public sector. I especially would like to thank the community for their continued support. The community gave me an opportunity. This was a very well-challenged election. It was funded by special interests. I don't know why people in Rancho Mirage and Palm Springs, I don't know why they would give our teachers union over $200,000 to try to flip the board. It doesn't make sense to me, but the truth will definitely come out. And even with all that resource, right? I think Mr. Arredondo, I think he received $50,000 from that special interest group. And I just want to tell the public that I don't work for any special interest group. I don't work for the teachers union or Clarissa Klein. I work for the community, and I'll continue to make sure that as an elected official, I think our biggest responsibility is to defend the rights of those that can least defend themselves. And that normally in communities like ours, it's the children and the older people. So again, thank you. Thank you for your support and your continued support and trust, right? And so I'm going to continue to do what I do. I'll continue to be an advocate for the community. I'll continue to make sure that we're doing the best job we can. And again, I just feel honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Vargas.
Thank you. I hope if I may speak in Spanish and then, okay, perfect. Allow me to translate for myself. I'll do my best.
Justin.
Okay. Bueno, quiero agradecer primeramente a mi familia, a mis padres, mi hermano. Like so bien llorona, so it's probably that I'll cry, but quiero agradecerles mucho por el apoyo que me han dado. A mis amistades, veo que me pudieron acompañar ahora, ya sea por Zoom o en persona, pero me siento con un privilegio poder haber representado a la comunidad los últimos 4 años por medio de ese asiento y pues también quiero agradecerle a la comunidad. Me siento muy, I'm like muy excited, but I'm very humbled ver el apoyo que he recibido por la comunidad. Para mí, el ser hija de padres migrantes, estudiante de primera generación, poder servir a la comunidad por medio de esta plataforma, es un privilegio para mí. Y voy a continuar siendo imparcial para poder hacer las mejores decisiones para nuestros estudiantes, para nuestras familias. Sé que ahorita estamos pasando por unos momentos difíciles, ya que nuestro presupuesto no está en una posición, ¿verdad? Que podemos sentirnos que estamos dando los recursos a nuestros estudiantes, ¿verdad? ¿Qué más quisiéramos poder darles el mundo a nuestros estudiantes? Y creo que es difícil escuchar a los padres que vienen a nuestro podio diciendo, pidiendo, ¿verdad? Pero para mí voy a seguir colaborando con mis compañeros que están aquí en la mesa, con nuestros miembros de los nuestros diferentes grupos, nuestros empleados, y para asegurar que sigamos haciendo lo mejor para los estudiantes. So, muchas gracias a todos. Oh my God, should I translate for myself? Just want to say thank you. I feel very honored and really grateful for everyone for the support. I want to thank my family, my friends, and really the community who supported me the last several months. I feel really privileged and humbled to have the opportunity to serve our families through this role, right? Definitely don't take it for granted. I know that today we have a lot of work to do. Our district is not in the great position that we were maybe a couple years with a lot of funding. And so, as parents, as community members, as educational advocates, we wish we could give the world to our students, right? And so, for me, I'm going to continue to do that. I commit myself to continue to do that impartially, and just really looking for the best way to serve our students, right, and our families. Again, just want to say thank you, and I look forward to working with everybody, and yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Thank you three for your service. So before we move into closed session, I just want to thank all of those who came out to support the candidates and now re-elected members of the board. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. Can I have a motion to go into closed session, please? I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll be back at 8:00. Thank you. All right, I want to call this meeting back to order. There was a motion and a second to return from closed session. The motion carried 7-0. Can we have a report of items approved in closed session, please?
Good evening. The board took the following action in closed session. Approved expulsion case number 23//24-007 for clear reinstatement. The motion was made by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Redondo, and the motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Now we're going to go back to item 3.1, governing board officers election for the remainder of the 2025 governing board year. We will start with the president.
If I
Yeah.
may, President, if I may, I would like to offer a slate. I want to motion them in a slate.
Can motion any way you'd like.
So this is one of the items that I've been thinking a lot, praying a lot about, and I want to first acknowledge that everyone who's sitting on this dais cares deeply about the education of our children, right? Like, we all grew up here, we all have deep ties, and I want that to not go unnoticed. The other thing that I want to recognize is that the nature of the politics, what is decided in the ballot box, is, and again, I think by nature and design, very divisive. So my putting together a slate is in an attempt to leave those politics out of this boardroom. They are damaging. We need to focus on the policy. That's what we were elected to do. Once we get here, inside here, our job is to do the policy. So this is a call for us, right, to not let whatever's happening outside to define this dais, the things that do unite us, because on the policy level, I see that across the board, we agree on a lot more things than we disagree. We may not like the how, but our job is not the how. That's the job of the superintendent. So again, this is a call for in the slate that I'm going to propose, it's a call for us as a board to be united and to make a conscientious decision that we're going to focus on the policies that are going to put forward our students and our community forward. And it's also, it goes both ways, right? I'm going to suggest these candidates with the belief and the invitation that by accepting, they will move in this direction. And also a request from our unions that we do the same, that when we're engaging, when we're in this room, that we're focused on the policies. So my recommendation is to have Jocelyn as the president. She's been the vice president. I was hesitant, I don't want to be the vice president, but I will take that. And then I'm going to recommend Valerie Garcia to be the clerk. So that's my motion.
I like the idealism behind this statement that you made. I find it, I like your first two candidates. Will not be supporting the third candidate. And you can't go raise $300,000 on an election that probably in the last 10 elections, we haven't had $300,000 spent in this area for the purpose of maliciously turning this board. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way they wanted it to. So again, Ms. Boss, I like the idealism. I like the offer, but I would support your slate if there was an amendment that Mr. Torres become the secretary.
I have a motion. I am not amending it at this point.
I'll
Call the
second,
question.
I'll second your motion, Ms. Paz. So I'll second it.
Any other comments from the board?
I just have a final comment. Ms. Garcia represents the teachers union. She works for the teachers union. It's even questionable how she's in closed session to discuss teachers union issues when she actually eats from the teachers union. She's been in negotiation very recently
Can we call a
as
question,
a
Mr. President?
secretary, running while they're negotiating, running copies and handing them to while they're negotiating. I don't think that's ethical. So the idea that she would be the secretary for this board and work for the teachers union, I can't accept that.
Okay. So I do not work for Carissa Carrera. I work for CTA.
Correct.
And
The
as
teachers-
far as that goes, those are values. Those are not anything to do with what the work that we do here. I know more of the work that we do here because of here. Those are values. My pay does not change one bit whether the unions do well or they don't. On the other hand, you do well when the union does well because your wife works for the union. So do others on this board. That is not the case for me. My pay does not change. There is nothing. My boss doesn't even reside in the office that I work in. My boss is completely outside of there. And this is something that has been legally tested. There are CTA employees across the state. And you asked this question the moment I became on the board, and our legal team stated there is not a conflict of interest. So this is you pandering. It's fine,
It's not pandering.
but I mean, it's not real.
Ms. Garcia, we leave closed session the next morning. CVTA knows exactly what we talked about in closed session. And somebody, right?
Mhm.
Somebody in the room is passing that information on. And I know it's not me. So that's concerning to me.
Okay. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know anything about that.
Of course you don't.
Anybody else have any comments on that? No. I have a problem. I just got to tell you, you know, I do. I understand what you're trying to do, but you know, at a certain point, you try not to make it personal, but when they start suing you individually and start saying what it is, and it's the same group of people, I'm sorry. I have a problem with that. I can let a lot of things go. I really can. I have, you know, I have told Ms. Garcia, while I don't agree with her, I got something from the attorneys that said there wasn't a conflict. I've never brought it up again. You know, I asked at the beginning, like we all did. I got that. I let that go. But I'm sorry. This is the same group that, you know, has been calling me a criminal, has been attacking me, my family, my friends, getting, you know, money from people who have been attacking us personally. This is not, this goes beyond the politics now, you know. And so I have I know what you're trying to do, but man, the person you picked really is a struggle for me, you know. And I don't know her personally. I just know the politics, unfortunately, you know. And so I have a problem with that. You know, the president of the teachers union has been attacking me since almost the day I got elected. Go back and look at all the emails. This nonsense that she was great with all of us until recent. No, she's been attacking me before she was the president. And I let that go. When I was the president, I met with her. You know, but now she personally is suing me because for all kinds of fictional stuff that's in this lawsuit. And her allies are out there going on TV shows, agreeing with them and attacking them. And again, both of you went on the show and said things that were not true about us, agreeing with these fictitious things about conflict of interest and because you know somebody or you went to school with somebody or you're married, your people are married. Everyone on this board, I can do that too. That's just nothing. I got to the point, and you guys have heard me before. I'm just so sick and tired of this, right? You want to fight with me? Let's fight. I'm done. I'm done. You know, I've been trying to be quiet. I purposely, you all know, I stay away from the media. That's just my thing. No more. I'm done. I'm tired. This last attack was the last straw for me, right? And so I agree with what you're doing, but the one person you picked, I have a very hard time. Now you may get the votes, and that's fine. That's the way it works, right? Whatever the vote goes, that's the way it goes. But I got to tell you, you put me. I can't speak for Mr. Gonzalez. You put me in a hard spot. There's two individuals here that I will absolutely not vote for because of the past and what they've done. And again, I wish in your mind I could be a bigger man, but I think I've been doing that for way too long and I'm just tired. I'm done with that. So that's just my comment. Again, if there's a majority to go with your slate, it is what it is. But again, that's a tough one for me, just so you know.
Yeah, and I can appreciate it. But we do have to be the bigger person. Violence does not combat violence. Attacks do not combat attacks. Nobody wins. Our students are not winning. Our community is not winning. We decided to run. This is the people we have to work with. And I hope that we're all committed to do that. This is it. This is until the next 2 years, right? And for us to continue to not be able to have a conversation with the person right next to us, for us to continue to see each other here as the enemy. We're not each other's enemies. We are all from this community. And that's what I'm asking for. And I said very clearly when I nominated Valerie, is if she accepts, this is a conscious decision of what it means to be a leader, and that we are not going to continue to attack each other because we depend on each other to make this board work. We depend on each other to make this district work, and our kids are depending on us. That's it. If she doesn't want that because the other things are greater, because her dislike of any one of you is greater, then I hope that she doesn't accept it and she says the same thing that Mr. Gonzalez told me. You know, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I cannot do it. And then I couldn't nominate Mr. Thomas Sortes, not about anything, but he just joined us. So that was, I mean,
That's fine. I
where we
just,
are.
you know, and again, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and it's, you keep saying that we and us. It seems like you're asking one side to kind of let down because they haven't stopped. They haven't stopped.
Get an
It's still
act
going on. It's still, so again, I appreciate what you're trying to do. And I'll continue to do what I do, try to support the kids in any way I can. You know, me and you don't always agree on things, you know, but you've never gone on TV and lied about me, right? You come and tell me, I think you're wrong. I believe you did this for this reason, and I appreciate that. That's not what happens. That's not what has been happening for the last month, and maybe it was political. You know, and again, just to let you know, they're already out there on social media. The guy on TV that they like to go to their shows already talking about, oh, I got great news. The recall is getting ready to start. That's me. They couldn't get him through the ballot box. So they're going to go ask Fred Noble and Harold Matzner for another 180,000, 90,000, whatever they gave the teachers union. Carissa Carrera is the treasurer of their political action committee. They gave them the money. They can go back and ask, and they're.
I'm not nominating Carissa Carrera.
Now, I understand that, but that's the group that they work with. And again, it's, I know what you're trying to do, you know, but I think in my, right now, to me, I can't. But again, if the board, majority of the board does that, it is what it is, and we go forward.
I call the question, Mr. Acuna.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yes, it's hard to find the right words, right, in this conversation. I've also struggled, right, with the thought of what's gonna happen with our district, right? We have a number of challenges that we're really faced with, right? It's like you said, a disservice to our students, or a disservice to our staff who are sitting here listening to us having this conversation, right? You know, I also, you know, I appreciate what you're sharing in terms of what you're trying to encourage us or asking us to step up and do, right? And I respect everyone's opinion, right? I think as a board, we have a lot of work to do. You know, I've been on this board for 4 years. I've known a lot of you all personally for a really long time in terms of collaborating and doing the work, right? And I think, you know, over the last 4 years, I've seen a lot of like what good leadership is, what poor leadership is, what, you know, the areas we all need to work on. At the end of the day, it's really about advancing our students, about supporting our superintendent who stepped up at a time where we were probably, I don't know how you got the courage to step up, but you did.
Yeah.
And for us to sit here and have this conversation, right? I think we all need to look at ourselves. And like you said, right? And Joey, I can as well, right? We all individually need to look at ourselves and look at what we've done to build the relationships or even contributed to fracturing those relationships, because we've all done it. We've all sat here and we've all talked. We've all, you know, I think we really need to have those honest conversations, right? We're going out to the community saying that we want transparency, that we want this, and yet we're not doing that. You know, and I'll speak for myself. I do take a lot of time to reflect on the things I say, the things you know, conversations I have with staff. And I do see a lot of things, right? And I don't comment, I don't engage. And it is hard, right? Because it's hurt, it hurts. So I think I respect what's being said. I'm not going to speak about individuals, but I am going to say that, you know, if we're moving in that direction, we all need to step into that work and do that work. Because we're not, I don't, it's a disservice to each other to say, so-and-so needs to work on this, so-and-so needs to work, you know, like we need to work on that ourselves too. And we need to model that for our staff. We talk about accountability. So how is it that we are sitting here asking our staff to hold each other accountable to do this work, and yet we won't do that for each other? If we call each other to have a conversation, you know, let's be open to that, right? You don't have to like me. We don't have to like each other. We don't have to be best friends, but we need to have those conversations because there's a lot of assumptions that are being made without knowing each other and where we're coming from. And so, you know, it's a lot, and I'm sure that there's a lot that I should have unpacked before coming to the dais, but you know, like I mean, let's be honest. We all need to have that conversation with ourselves. Like, what have we done to create this fractured relationships on this board? And the reality is it's a disservice to our students, a disservice to the voters, is a disservice to the community, our staff. And I don't know how are we gonna move forward with our budget and all the challenges we're facing when we're not gonna have those conversations.
Yeah, and I just want to challenge you, Jocelyn, on the false narrative that there is a lack of transparency on this board, because that is not the case. This board is not hiding things. And I had that conversation in the parking lot one night with Valerie and Trini, right after a meeting. So you may not see me here also going at it, but I was like, that is not true. There are things that sometimes our staff does that we don't know, right? We're a big district. And when we know, then we talk about it and we address it. And Dr. Esparza has been finding a lot more things. That is not the same thing as us lacking transparency, not the same thing as this board lacking transparency. So I agree
Yeah.
that our job as a board member, we don't win when we repeat those false narratives and accuse each other of lacking. I mean, we are accusing each other without even, like you said, having the conversation, what really happened there. So again, I mean, Ms. Garcia, you responded to Mr. Gonzalez's comments, but my question to you is, can you work with Joey? Can you work with Jocelyn? Can you work with Jesus, with me, I know you work with Trini already, with Mr. Tortes, and leave the politics outside? Can you bridge those relationships?
So,
Yes, I feel like that's what I've done so far is anytime that we've had discussions, it has been my feeling, my opinion, my skill set coming into any conversation that's happening. I'm not a spokesperson for my job.
But I'm
when
talking about
here in the
relationship building. I mean,
Sure.
the way we move work,
Mm.
the way we build trust
Mm.
is relational, right?
Yeah.
And we need to learn, like Mr. Acuna said, to talk to each other even when we feel that we disagreed and that we were placed in a box or whatnot, right? I think, and it's gonna take both sides, right? It's gonna take both sides. So.
Mr.
That's my
Cunha,
question.
if I can just add a little bit, I honestly believe that every member of this board, right, elected by the community, right, brings the best they can offer every day they show up here. I believe it. I believe that all of us want the best for every child that comes to our school district. I believe that too. I think that's a common ground. As you're trying to do what you're trying to do, Ms. Paz, we just got served with a lawsuit, right? Frivolous lawsuit that is packed with evidence, according to them. But all that information is all the things that we talked about in closed session. So when you talk about this sense of idealism, can I get along with you? Can you get along with me? You know my personality. I don't carry anything anywhere. What I think I hear Mr. Acuna saying, and the problem that I have is that as you're asking me to do that, she represents a teachers union, right? Who lost an election, put in $300,000 into election, gave Mr. Arredondo $50,000, right, of special interest money, and got their ass handed to him at the polls. And it wasn't enough. Instead of saying, okay, we lost, no, they file a lawsuit to celebrate the appointment of the new board, right? And so as you're asking me to do this, which is really, believe me, I'm that guy. I love the idea of becoming her best friend, right? I love the idea of working together, but I can't ignore the fact that we continue to be attacked, that guy Rotten Rogan that eventually will be run out of this community the way they ran him out of Los Angeles for spreading lies and false narratives and exaggerated if there's any truth to what he says. The fact of the matter is that that's not going to quit. Now, if you could have said, Jesus, we're starting new, we're burying the story here, and we're going to all start new together. I love the idea. Let's go. Well, that's what I show up here to do every time I show up. But that's not what's fact. So you're telling me do that, but accept everything else that's being done against you. It doesn't work.
Call the question.
Anybody else?
I-
Huh? What?
Ms. Paso, I commend you for what you're doing, right? And that's why I second your motion. I think it's important that we work together, and I think it's important that people realize, even on this dais, as the person next to you continues to say things, right? When I'm not here and I'm not saying anything, but I could say a lot, right? But I know that there's the students that we need to focus on. I know that the staff we need to focus on. And some of these board members have some growing up to do. But I wholeheartedly respect what you're trying to do. I respect you as a person, and I hope that you continue with your motion so we can get this going. So thank you for what you're doing.
So you want us to work with them and you just told us to grow up. That's the way we're going to start. Again, I do. I support what you're trying to do, but I mean, that just kind of proved my
Well,
point.
what did you say about me, Mr. Acuna?
There's been a discussion amongst them.
Yeah. What did you say about me, Mr. Acuna?
Okay, hold on. Amongst who? Because I have not talked to anybody. I was hoping that you all would have decided before I came here. I prayed about this. I have not talked to anybody. So again, it's disappointing, Mr. Gonzalez, because I think you and I have developed a relationship, and that you would think that I've talked to anybody about this before coming here. This is not easy. I don't have a solution, but what I'm seeing happening to our community is wrong. It's painful.
The problem isn't here, Miss Bus. The problem are the outside attacks. The problem is $300,000 of bad press. The problem is 10 billboards going down the road. You need to stop that. It's not here. It's not here. Like you said, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, we all agree on the same thing. The problem is there's an outside influence that we can't stop. So even if we fix this, our community is still being attacked. I don't know why somebody in Rancho Mirage with all the money in the world, I don't know what lie they told him, right, about us, that he would put out all this money to flip this board. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's beyond me. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen it. And I don't know what happened in the union president's life that makes her show up here and just spew nothing but hate, miserable hate. I don't understand it. It's not true. We're the highest paid school district of 23 school districts in Riverside County. It's obviously not compensation and working conditions for teachers. It has nothing to do with that.
And that's what I'm asking for. That's what I'm asking for in my motion, that we move away from that and focus on the policies. And that's gonna take, and I hope our president to be able to hold the conversations and to call us out when we're not. And that you will not allow the type of comments that my colleague over here, Trini, just made, and that you wouldn't allow me to make those comments about. It doesn't get us anywhere. So I understand. I just, again, we are 7. Maybe Mr. Tortes is the swing vote here and you take us somewhere else, and that's fine. And that's fine. And I would be fine too if Mr. Tortes was the clerk. I mean, this is not a personal thing. Ms. Garcia has been longer here, and I think it would be disrespectful for me to say that I'm trying to do this and jump her.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Motion carries 5-2. That's our new board. One other thing that we do have, and I have the thing here, for some reason it was neglected. The next thing we also have to do is appoint the superintendent to be the secretary of the board. We do this all the time. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna take a break because we're gonna be moving some people around. And then we'll get right back to it as soon as we move everybody out to the new positions. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jocelyn.
I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Congratulations, Sylvia.
And you too? You're still here?
Oh. Yeah, I ain't going anywhere until they should have left me alone. I would have left.
Me dice,
Explain what.
Oh, we're starting at the agenda.
Okay.
I was in between those two, so no, we did that. We did all this already. The only thing we're doing is I moved, it's the middle of agenda. It's right here. This is where you start, 5.3.
Okay.
And then you just go into the public comments.
So 5.3. But we have to motion back into open.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm a little nervous. Okay, so we're gonna go back into open session. So do we have a motion? We did that? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go 5.3 approval of the agenda submitted. So we need a motion.
So move.
A second? And trustee Roxanna?
So I approve.
Okay, and then we vote and we move for a vote?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Pass. Okay, so 6.1, board notification request to address the board. Read the comments. Public comments, open session, introductory comments and requests to address the board on items on the adopted agenda and items not on the adopted agenda will be considered from the audience at this time. Please complete a request to address the governing board form handed to the recording secretary. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. Additionally, the person making the request should state his or her name and the name or of organization or group represented. Please be advised that the board is not always at liberty to answer questions right away. State law prohibits the board from taking any action on items not listed on the agenda. The speaker, we have one speaker, Alicia Valladolid on IMA Library.
When you do the book fair, you spend the whole week or 9 days or 8 days or whatever we have, we work. When I closed the library and I said, oh my God, it's probably the last one. And I go on, to my right, I have stacks of library books to put back. To my left, I have so many broken iPads. Do you understand what I'm saying? That it doesn't, it's just not the book fair. It's the things that we don't do when we're doing the book fair that we have to go back and still do our library schedule for every student. still do it. I don't cancel. I continue doing my work. The profit that I get from the book fair is for the students, books. My school does not provide books for our students. Every 5 years, they purchase maybe $3,000 or $4,000 to buy books. The only books they get is from me from the book fair. So we're not just like, I consider it a slap in the face when I was 12 months, 8 hours, now it become 10 and 5. I feel like I understand the budget. I do understand what we're going through. So that's the saddest part, that you are hitting the IMAs, you hurting the students. Okay, and I understand the conversation that you guys are having. Everybody's looking at us and listening. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only written communication. So we're gonna move on to 7.2, student board member report.
Thank you. Good evening, starting with Desert Mirage, student trustee Eric Huerta. Counseling. Students are planning next year's classes with support from Puente and Avid. Puente seniors are receiving college decisions. 2 seniors are Gates Scholarship finalists. Migrant program. Students attended a career night with the LA Clippers and visited USC. Paid summer internships are available. Health Academy. Job shadowing is complete. Prom. It's this Saturday with prom court, lunch games, and a pep rally. Sports. Track did well in their first meet, and softball season has started. Student perspective. School lunches are improving with student input. Test scores are low. More cast practice could help, like how Puente students practice raise their passing rate. Saturday AP practice tests were successful last year. Offering them again could help students prepare. West Shore student trustee Isabella Martinez. Counselors continue to provide social emotional learning groups by collaborating with wellness teachers and admin. Counselors continue to meet with students to review transcripts, A through G, and grad status, as well as selecting courses for next year and adjusting academic plans as needed. Counselors are working with both seniors and 8th graders to make sure they meet their graduation and prom requirements. Today, we start our AP Pre-Calculus mock test number 1, 6 and 7 period, and physical fitness testing. Hosted a career fair where we had 25 careers show up to talk to students. Working on our College of the Desert applications with seniors. Coachella Valley High School, student trustee Lynette Bautista. Students are beginning to plan for next year, looking at their course options with the help of their programs like Puente and Avid. All sophomores have also finished their planned courses for next year. Juniors should be finishing up planned courses for next year, senior year. ASB finished a successful week of activities, ending with the Winter Glow in the Dark Rally, where ASB Executive Board and senior class officers were recognized. The middle school visits, including Imagine Schools, were held on March 11 and 13 at the car booth event on March 15. We are now entering the testing season and will continue to host lunch activities during this time. On Saturday, March 22nd, ASB will be volunteering at the Valley-wide VIP prom at the Indio Polo Grounds. Lastly, La Familia High School. On March 19th, students were able to attend the Universal Technical Institute. Many seniors will be graduating early in this quarter that will end on March 28th. 6 students from the CTE class were able to attend El Paseo 2025 fashion show in Palm Desert. This is a new and amazing experience for most of the students. Sports. It's the beginning of softball season, and students are joining, and practices will be every day during lunch. The first game of the season will be on Friday, March 21st against MSJ. Student voice. On Tuesday, an incident occurred with a student, and this brought a lot of worry and fear to our principal, staff, and students who witnessed and helped the student out. We are relieved to know that the student is doing okay and is out of danger recovering at home. We are so fortunate that the worst did not happen. This caused our principal to discuss the issue during fifth period to all students to raise awareness that we should never accept something that could potentially harm us or even cost our lives. More than half of our schools signed a pledge to committing themselves to not consume drugs or pressuring someone to take them. We also have our Latino Commission members that are available to students in any situation related to drug abuse. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Trustee Cunha, should we start that way?
Um, yeah, I think we pretty much wrapped it up at the last, on that last discussion. Um, we'll see. We'll see what your experiment comes up with. I did want to mention that, we have had a lot of, things happening out in the schools, out in our communities that we've been a part of. I think the district continues, even with all the other noise, the districts and the staff and the people continue to go out there and do what they're supposed to do, because that's what they've always done. And again, we have a tournament coming up on Saturday, which will be our drum line and our flags. I think that's at CV High School. I think it starts about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. It'll run about till 1:30. Those are, you know, interesting ones as they are done in a professional way. They bring in people to judge, so you know that nobody's thing, but it's really good. I've been to many of them, and I think it's we get lots of parents to go out there and appreciate the fact that, you know, the after school program continues to do all these great things with our kids. And I know you guys know I brag about it all the time. It is one of the best programs, not only in Southern California, but I think if you talk to the state, they'll agree we do a lot of unique things with the resources that we have in our communities, right? So we have that going on. Other things that we've been at, I think, different school sites. We're at the ribbon cutting, the ribbon cutting for Valley View last weekend or last week, which is great. Again, 4 down, a whole bunch more to go, but the fields are looking good. I think the kids appreciate it, the parents appreciate it, the community appreciates it. And like I said, you know, regardless of all the things going on, everybody's still doing their job, moving forward and working. Um, so other than that, we'll see.
Trustee Torres.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, for the Oasis and Salton Sea District, which I'm a representative, I appreciate Mr. Carlos coming up and talking about, you know, the staff and the concern for the Salton Sea area. It's the area that I live in, where my kids went to school. And like I said at the last meeting, you know, I think that the school has done great. Seeing my kids have been through, again, I reiterate, you know, all the aches and pains of going to the school, riding the buses, not getting on the bus, all this stuff. But appreciate the community speaking up. And so now I know, you know, what to focus on when I'm out there in the area, West Shore, Seaview, and Oasis in my area. There's still, you know, a lot of concern about, you know, the employees and the reduction in force. And I just wanted to say, you know, I'm still new on the board, as was stated, right? So yeah, that, you know, I don't have any communication with the most of the board until this year. So that's why I voted the way I did. I'm not sure. Normally in a board where you have the seats that are elected, like we did, was explained to me earlier, normally they just step up. If you have vice president, they step up, secretary steps up, treasurer steps up, and all of that. And that's how I was when I was on Salton Sea Authority. So it's pretty common to see that. And I think that's, I haven't heard anything, you know, in my short time that I've been here, based on evidence, you know, of anything that was said by the public or the board members. Again, so that was my justification for voting the way that I did. But other than that, Mr. President, I don't have anything else to report. Thank you.
Trustee Arredondo.
Madam President, congratulations to the slate that was to Trustee Paz and Ms. Garcia. Look forward to working with you three and the rest of the board. I'd just like to thank the public for coming out and just being here, public comment, talking about CVU. That's one of the biggest things that we heard out there in the community was the reduction in force in CVU. And so I hope I concur with Trustee Torres that we look at, just I know that happens a lot there in that area, and I hope that we can our Valley View, but very excited about the fields and how they're looking. I think staff for making that happen, and I'll continue to press for the other schools that need support, especially Peter Pendleton, who has concrete that needs to be replaced in very, very bad shape, and I hope that we can get to that. As a board member for the next 4 years, my focus is really going to be looking at academies for our school district. I want every student to have a pathway and making sure that we don't miss any of our students, and every student feels like they can enter a pathway and complete it, right? So I'm going to be working hard towards that. I also want to make sure that our students are coming to our school district. I know that we have declining enrollment. We need to encourage our families and we got to assure our families that we are a great district. And our students should be coming to Coachella Valley Unified School District because we're a great district and we offer a lot of good things, right? Never perfect, but it is a great district. And as a proud graduate, I'll say that I definitely want to focus on that, right? I want to continue to look at the dual language. I think it's important to strengthen our dual language across the district as we continue to improve our math and literacy scores, right? I visited a family that I know, and this young man had a very high Lexile score. And so I'm glad that I'm able to understand what those Lexile score means. And I know that, like I said, our school district's a good district, but we just need to continue to work on that. So my requests for future board meetings, Dr. Esparza, are an update on we heard today that our North Shore Elementary is a little delayed, but I'd like to just share that with the public and share the plan. And I know that staff knows that we're encouraged to. Staff has assured us that they're doing everything they can to definitely open it at during the new school year. But I like a presentation on that. I'd also like to look at our what we're doing to encourage our attendance, right? To increase our attendance, and then sort of looking at what possible academies would look like. That's just my personal thing. It's not a priority, but I think that it's important that we look at ways that we support our students to make sure that they feel they have a pathway that they can begin and end with by the time they graduate. So those are kind of my comments. Thank you, Madam President. Again, congratulations.
Trustee Gonzalez.
President Vargas, congratulations. Silvia Paz, congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Garcia, congratulations. Look forward to working with you as we take on the challenges that we have before us. Obviously, during COVID, we had an excess amount of money for a lot of things. Unfortunately, prior administration didn't plan on that money that was going to go away, and that's why we're up against the financial condition that we're in. But look forward to working with everybody. I think it's not going to be easy, but life has never been easy, right? So we have to continue to do the best thing we can do. I agree to disagree on stuff. I want to make it clear that North Shore, as a school, we just had a facilities committee meeting today. Mr. Arredondo said it's delayed. It's not delayed. We're having some off-site construction that has been delayed, but in terms of the vertical structure and as a school, it'll be ready to open on time. Again, here's another example. Just challenge our superintendent to make sure that our kids that they have a dream, right? That they're not put into an academy and and learn how to turn down beds and believe that that's the only thing they're going to do, but that they look at that as maybe a way of working while they're getting their four-year education, and that we challenge our kids to make sure that they can do everything that they can dream of. I wanted to share, I had an interesting experience here. This is the arena. This was the arena on Saturday. There was quite an event, Rubik's Cube event. I was blown away, right, with how fast, a little 5-year-old, 6-year-old could move that Rubik's Cube around. And I asked somebody, I don't know, in passing, like, this boardroom is whatever. And somebody corrected me and says, no, this isn't a boardroom. This is an arena. And I was like, okay, it's the arena. But they had a whole people traveled from other school districts to compete. I want to believe the winning score was, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 seconds. I don't know how they could possibly do it, but it was a very rigid, well judged, very formal event that turned this into the arena. But and again, real quick, President Vargas, I want to thank the community for the trust, right? Many years of trust in what I do as an elected official to make sure that we're watching out for the people who can least defend themselves. And like I said, as an elected official, the weakest in our communities is always the youth, and it's always the seniors, right? So making sure that we voice for those families and those students that don't have a voice, and making sure that they have the same dream and possibility that children that might have a little more resources have. But again, congratulations, Ms. Vargas, and look forward to working with you as a president, and look forward to doing the best we can.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came and spoke to us today. We don't ever want to forget that everything that you tell us is so important. We need to hear it. Thank you for the employee who felt like she needed to speak to us twice in one meeting to get her point across to us as far as the decisions we're making, and making sure, what I'm hearing from that is making sure that there's a plan for it, because the workload is going to be there. And as long as we have the transition plan for that, we're not letting anyone down. We're not letting any of the pieces fall. As far as our employees, I know that letters have gone out, and there's a lot of feelings. We've had it for several meetings. The discomfort about having to go through the RIF process. Please talk to your unions, go through that process. They have updates for you. They should be working hard on your behalf. As far as the parents, I do hear you. As far as the combo classes and combo classes for dual language, that is very difficult. I recognize that. I would say that is 4 classes in one, because it is English and Spanish in both languages. It's in both levels, and a teacher has to choose whether they're going to veer towards the higher level or the lower level, depending on the makeup of the students. That is not easy, and I don't think that that is ideal, especially in those classes, the dual immersion, where it's already a heavier lift for everyone involved. But the rewards for our students to become linguistically gifted and hone in on that is too much for us to drop off and leave stranded. So we do need to find ways to support our programs, and support our programs in every site. We've heard that excuse me, even the site that we've slated to pull dual immersion, there is an interest with parents, as long as we can have a discussion with them, maybe town halls, maybe info sessions, so that more know about our amazing programs. My nephew and my own son are in the program, and the strides and beautiful work that they have already achieved is amazing to see. Reading in English and Spanish, math in English and Spanish, it's really amazing. And I'm so proud that they will know better than I do as far as that goes. And that's what I want for them, for their future, for our community. Thank you to the board in entrusting the board to us women. I feel like it was an interesting turn of events. I know that we are 7 individuals and we all have our own ideas. We all have things that we bring to the table. I do think it's important, and I agree what others have said, Ms. Paz, that ultimately it's about our community, it's about our students, it's about our staff, and making sure that everything we're doing is pushing us forward. There is already so much unrest, unfortunately, unrest within our district, and then unrest within our country. And we know that the things looming that we're not even sure about, with possible dismantling of Department of Education, all these things, we need to be strategizing to protect our students as much as possible. In working with the policy committee, we were trying to do just that, trying to mitigate as much as we can, making sure that we are protecting our students and families, not making it easier for anyone to be targeted in the future because we're unsure what's going to happen in this administration. So making sure that we are getting the services to our families. No one is going to be left in the cold. We want our community to feel like this is a safe haven. Every student has the right to an education. Every family has the right to the resources here. And just continue to push forward. This is not easy, but all we can do is work with what we have in front of us and work with each other as best we can so that we can move our district forward. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you all. Trustee Paz?
Yes, good evening. Thank you everyone for being here, and I apologize. I arrived late today. I just arrived into the closed session. I don't know. I have 2 very requests, not a long speech, but I think these 2 things are important. One, that we bring at least once a month, so during one of the meetings, that report that it's listing all of our accounts, our grants, where we are with spending it, so that we can be tracking those along the year and there's no surprises about how much money is or is not there. I think it's really important that we're tracking all of our accounts, particularly those accounts that have deadlines for reporting and to be spent. And my other request is that for a board agenda item, I would like to bring forward to the board that we do a financial audit of the Latino Commission based on the $8 million that we have given them in the past. And I know that we're still contracting with them, so it's important that we feel comfortable about that amount of money is being well managed. The other thing I want to bring to the board, or maybe it's just a question, Dr. Esparza, so you, as part of your stabilization plan, you created a reorg, right? Like you're reorganizing various things. There's positions that were eliminated as part of that, and then there are new job descriptions that you are going to be bringing towards us. But my question is clarification on the hiring process, because essentially those positions are eliminated. These are new job descriptions, and I want to make sure again that we have an open process and that everybody knows what to expect. So can you give it, I don't know what your thoughts are on how that's all going to work.
So with the new job descriptions, what we do is we bring them to the board so the board can review them to make sure that they're acceptable. And they're basically going to be new job descriptions that are going to outline the new duties that everyone is going to take on, from transportation to the music and art program, as well as to the after-school programs.
And who's filling those positions, or how is that being determined?
We have to fly the positions and people need to apply, and they're going to do the full interview process.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to thank Trustee Acuna. I know over the last, we spent a lot of time the last year or so, and I really appreciate your mentorship and just kind of showing me the ropes, right? So, you know, as vice president, I got to join Joey and putting together our agendas. So I feel like, you know, it is new and, you know, I'll definitely probably make some mistakes and rely on you all to kind of, I told Dr. Esparza, hold my hand a little, but just, you know, as we get used to the new transition, but I really appreciate, you know, Joey, I've gotten to know you over the last, you know, year or so. And just wanted to say that I really appreciate you for kind of showing me how to, you know, look at our agendas, putting them together. I do look forward to working with Dr. Esparza, and, you know, Trustee Paz and Garcia, and just being able to move, you know, our priorities forward for the district. You know, I think for me, I've always tried my best to work collaboratively with everyone. And so I'm really hopeful that, you know, us three can work together to really advance what we need to do for the district and for the good of the students. And I'm hopeful that as a board, we can engage on doing some professional development. I know that it takes some time, right? But I'm committed in doing the work. And so I'm really hopeful that my colleagues will also do that and support that to improve the way in which we work together. So I look forward to serving the community in this capacity. As I've always said, I'm human. So please bear with me as as I learn through the process, but you know, I hope to be able to do justice to the work and to you all. So yes, I'll leave it at that. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Assistance League for a recent donation that they provided. It was water and snacks, and they are going to all of our wellness centers for our students who visit our wellness centers. So thank you to the Assistance League for that. The Ophelia Project awarded 2 of our scholars from CV High School, and that money goes to their college tuition. So we're very, very thankful that the Ophelia Project recognized 2 of our Arabs. I want to identify that on March 26th at 4 p.m., we're going to have some of our students recognized at the Palm Springs Police Station for doing the right thing. These are students who do good deeds and are provided. The teacher provides information to do the right thing. The application goes in, and then they choose students from Palm Springs Unified, Desert Sands Unified, and this is the first time Coachella Valley Unified will be a part of that. So please make sure March 26th at 4 p.m. you're watching television. I can't tell you the channel now, but we will put it out there, and our public information officer will blast it everywhere to make sure you're able to see our champions on that evening. I want to thank Ellen Serrao, who supported La Familia High School with Quantum Leap. It really is a highly advanced financial literacy program that is free to us from Quantum Leap, which is also part of Keller Williams. And so we are very, very thankful that he's gone around to all the high schools to be able to support him and some of his colleagues who are all high profile realtors here in the desert who take the time to work with students to teach them how to manage their money, how to make money, and how to make money. So that's something that he did teach us, make money for you. So, and he talks to them about the best investment for them is real estate, and never sell your parents' home, your grandparents' home. It's very hard for you to be able to afford it as an adult. And so to make sure that you make those wise investments, first part of Financial Literacy 101. I want to recognize 41 students from our Independent Studies program who just completed all of their classes. So congratulations to them. They are new graduates of CVUSD. I also want to wish Alexa Magana good luck as she competes for the Riverside County Spelling Bee. It's coming up soon, so good luck to Alexa. I also want to inform that summer school applications for all students are being distributed via invitation as well as online. So parents are going to be able to find the registrations links on Parent Square and on social media. We will also have a hard copy application at our school site for parents who prefer to fill it out hard copy. I want to thank the Fiscal Crisis Management Team who is here and is going to present in a few minutes. I know they've been waiting patiently. When I became the superintendent here in CVUSD, I did contact our COE and I said, I need to know what's going on. I need a financial audit. Can you help me? And they said, well, FICMAT can help you. So I contacted FICMAT. And then FICMAT said, well, you know, we have to know this, we need to do that. It costs so much. So I came back to our COE and they said, I think you're going to end up getting one soon. So it saved us about $25,000, $30,000. So I really appreciate the fact that our COE partnered with FICMAT to be able to come here to tell us what it is that we need to do to improve our district's finances. So thank you for being here. I do want to ask the Assistant Superintendent of HR, Dr. Makowitz, to please provide the correct information on the coaches and the seniority list, because I think there's a misconception that we're laying off or rifting too many people. So can you just take a few?
Thank you, Dr. Esparza. I first want to say we all are committed. It is a large reduction in force, and we are working very hard to meet everyone's needs and walk them through the process. But there are a few issues that came up during public comments that I would like to address. The first is Dr. Esparza has worked to ensure that every site will have a coach. As for the reduction in force, we are not exceeding what the board allowed in the resolution in terms of the number of layoffs. What everyone needs to know is that we have a hard legal deadline of March 15th to be able to send out notifications for a reduction in force. And there were positions listed on the resolution, and those positions, there is a group of people that are directly impacted, and there's a precautionary number of people who will also receive letters to account for the seniority and bumping of people who have been here longer or are higher up on the seniority list. For certificated and classified, it's a little different. Certificated, there is not only seniority list, but there's bumping and skipping criteria. And for classified staff, we are new to following ed code in terms of working with not only their current classification, but seniority in a higher classification, so they get an adjusted seniority date. I know that is a lot to take, but I know that my team has been trying to answer questions. I also have to thank the last a week and a half, the Director Maldonado, as well as the CSEA board, have been working very hard. They've been trapped in a room, meeting with employees, doing the bumping process and trying to fill as many positions as we can, and walking employees through it. We are not done. We are about, Director Maldonado will be sending out an email clarifying we need a few more days. But I also would like to thank Director Martinez on the certificated side. Her and her team have been working with the certificated staff, moving through that seniority list. And please, I know it's a lot of information. I know it's a lot to process, but if you have a specific individual question, just email or call us and we will get you the answer as quickly as we can. Am I forgetting anything, Dr. Esparza?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And last but not least, in regards to the academies, I know you said you're going to really push for the academies. That's what I interviewed on. That was what I think got me the assistant superintendent position. We need to make sure that we're going to be able to put out the academies. And what I had advised was a few dual language academies, a few engineering academies, a few STEM academies, and a few music and art academies. And we could also have a technology academy. But when you have an academy, sometimes other schools say, hey, I want that too. And then they want a double academy or a triple academy. And so I've seen what the board has done in spreading the wealth with dual language across the board, and it's great because we're one of the only school districts that has that throughout the entire, state, where every single elementary school has the opportunity for dual language. So it is going to take a lot of planning because it is costly to have those types of academies. So that's something that we're gonna have to work on really hard to make sure that we can do throughout this next year. Thank you.
Item 8, information presentations. We have 8.1, Daniela Tavares presentation.
Madam President, are we doing board committee assignments today?
Oh, that's right. We're going back.
It's only.
Oh,
It's 9. Okay, thank you. We'll get to it. Hold your horses. Presentation of the fiscal health risk analysis report by the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team. FICMAT.
My name is Jennifer Narrett, and I'm here tonight. Can you hear me? I'm here tonight with my colleague, Robbie Montalbano, in the audience. We are intervention specialists with the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team, or FICMAT, as we are known by. We want to thank the board for the opportunity to be here tonight to present the findings from our recent work with the district on a fiscal health risk analysis. And also want to thank the board and district administrators and staff for their cooperation with us throughout this process. And let me see if I can get this to, okay, there we go. All right, so we have a lot of topics to go over tonight, but I want to ensure you that my report will be brief and concise. I know that you have a copy of the report and you've had the presentation in advance. And a lot of what you're going to hear tonight is not new to you. It's not going to be news to you. It's echoing a lot of what your County Office of Education has been working with you and the work that you've been engaged in. And so we'll go over the reports of the fiscal health, we'll go over the results of the fiscal health risk analysis, but I'll also provide you with some background on indicators of risk and just some other foundational topics that may be of interest to you. FICMAT, as I mentioned, the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team was created by the legislature in response to districts that were experiencing fiscal solvency issues. We're an independent external agency of the state, and we were created to support districts as they are facing solvency issues in the form of management assistance and fiscal crisis. The goal really of our unit is to prevent a fiscal insolvency, and we do that work, a lot of preventative work, largely with management assistance going out to districts at their request, as Dr. Esparza was describing. We have districts reach out to us for specific areas, operational areas, then we assist with that, as well as we do a lot of professional development for district staff. We do fiscal crisis. That's not the majority of our work. And we also are engaged with fraud investigations. So Assembly Bill 1200, you may be familiar with, but it is landmark legislation that was created to strengthen fiscal oversight of schools by establishing a framework for local fiscal procedures and accountability. And really, it's meant to be more collaborative between the county superintendent and school districts to work together on fiscal stability. I want to remind you, though, that the first level of fiscal oversight rests solely with this governing board. This board in this district, every district's governing board is that first level of oversight. And so it's on your shoulders as to maintaining that fiscal stability within the district. As well, your county superintendent provides a secondary layer of oversight, ensuring that all the schools within all the school districts in their county are working diligently to maintain sound fiscal operations. And they would then work with us and at the state level as an intermediary. So indicators of risk or potential, let me back up actually 1 second, because something I didn't mention about your county superintendent is I just want to you have your interim reporting periods, you have your adopted budget, and those reports, the board will make a certification. You just did your second interim financial report. That is then forwarded to your county Office of Education for their review. And there's concurrence or not in terms of what you are working on at that point in time, and your financial picture. So some of that mechanism for working with your county is part of that secondary layer of oversight. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that so you understand kind of that connect between what you just did probably at your last board meeting in your county Office of Ed. So indicators of risk or potential insolvency. We at FCMAT have identified 20 key areas that have been present in districts that were facing insolvency issues. And so we created this tool, the fiscal health risk analysis based on these indicators of risk. I'm not going to go through everyone. You can read the bullets, but one of the ones I want to bring to your attention is the inattention to the annual independent audit. The district hasn't completed theirs yet for the 23-24 school year, and I know that's forthcoming, but that's an area that it's the first section of our fiscal health risk analysis tool. So we look at all of these areas: inadequate budget development and adoption, budget monitoring, cash management, oversight of charter schools, bargaining unit agreements. Collective bargaining unit agreements, as you know, have a big fiscal impact, so those have to be managed well. And increasing your uncontrolled contributions and transfers. A contribution is money that the district gives to a restricted program from the unrestricted general fund that can pull from that unrestricted general fund, as well as deficit spending and employee benefits. One more slide with the indicators of risk. Of course, we have to closely monitor enrollment and attendance, especially if we're in a declining enrollment situation. Facilities, fund balance, all of these things are areas that we look at when we are going through the fiscal health risk analysis. So the tool itself, we developed this tool to assess the district's risk of financial insolvency in the current year we're looking at, and we're looking at what that could look like for you in the following 2 years. There's an automatic engagement process that's kind of an early warning system that came about in the 2018-19 State Budget Act. And there are some triggering events that can happen where we will come in uninvited to perform this tool for you. It's at no cost to the districts, but the situations that would trigger an FHRA for a district is a disapproved budget, a negative interim report certification, 3 qualified interim certifications, a downgrade of an interim certification by the county superintendent, or a lack of going concern designation. So we're here because of a lack of going concern designation by the county superintendent that was issued in the fall. So our tool has 138 yes/no questions. It's just a big, long list of questions. And like I said, those are based on the indicators of risk. Now, each of those areas also has a weighting. And if you score a high score on the fiscal health risk analysis, that means you're high risk. It's kind of like golf, we say. You want a low score to determine your risk level. And then all of the questions are based on really our industry best practices for the processes with the areas that we're looking at. So we were here before in 2019, about 5.5 years ago. And at that time, the district was assigned a high risk rating of 44.7%. Remember, anything over 40% is high risk. So at that time, we were here because there were consecutive qualified interim. That was the trigger. Unlike the trigger this time is the lack of going concern designation. And so the themes during that time were declining enrollment, ongoing deficit spending, erosion of the unrestricted general fund balance, and inadequate reserves. We can look back then, and as I share the results of tonight, the themes are very similar. Not much has changed. What did change from that time, there was a structural deficit then, just like there is now, but COVID happened, right? And you talked about it earlier. I heard you, all of the money that came in, all the infusion of resources for our students masked that structural deficit. And you know what? We were just busy trying to make sure that everyone was okay during that time, right? we were trying to keep school going and all of that. And so a lot of districts like Coachella Valley were facing similar situations of a structural deficit before COVID happened, but that infusion of dollars masked it. So also when we don't have, when there's instability in leadership, and I know the district's had a couple of superintendents over the last 5.5 years, then also it's hard to implement some big changes. That's some heavy lifting. And when you have people at the higher level leaving and making a transition, it's hard to enact some of those big changes that you're in the process of doing now. So the current conditions is, I mentioned earlier, your county superintendent of schools, the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools designated the district a lack of going concern, and you've been assigned a fiscal advisor. You're all aware of that. Also, since the time that we were engaged, FCMAT, the district's first interim financial report certification, the district certified positive and the county downgraded it to a qualified certification. And your county superintendent's been requiring a detailed fiscal stabilization plan to address the shortfalls that you have within your budget. I know that you've been working toward resolving that. Remember, our report was the snapshot in time at first interim. So you may say, well, you know, we're doing other things now. Yes, you are, and we commend you for that. But at the time of our work here, we reflect what was going on at the first interim financial report. And also the audit for the 23-24 school year was not presented to the board by the statutory timeline of January 31st. So that's a big deal in terms of if you have not had your beginning and ending fund balances validated through the audit process, if there is any sort of large material finding, it could affect your fiscal health with regard to your balances that you would have. So I know you're in the process, you had requested an extension for that audit. There's been a lot going on with leadership changes, I understand. And so I know you're working with your county superintendent of schools on that extension process. So this current FHRA also had a high risk rating, not quite as high as last time, but still designated as high risk at 42.6%. We were here in the district, Robbie and I were the ones that conducted the study last month, February 4th through the 6th. We interviewed roughly 40 folks. We went through numerous documents, about 300, I believe. And that's where we get our information. We don't look at one source. We collect multiple sources for our determinations and our findings. And we really focus on systems and processes that are going to, you know, be areas where you can improve. Because you may say, well, we already know everything you're telling us, Jennifer. So why are you here? And really our tool is for you to really hone in on those specific areas. And you can really say, okay, these are areas where we might need to improve our systems and processes. Things that are going well for you, we don't normally comment on in any of our reports. We say that if we do that, it'll be a 500-page report because there's so many good things that our school districts are doing. And we report from more of a deficit model. It's kind of a little bit of a bummer, but that's just how our reports will read if you have questions about that. All right, so again, I know you've seen the report. I just want to focus on these 6 areas that were kind of the highest weighting for no answers. And it was budget monitoring, collective bargaining agreements, deficit spending, enrollment and attendance, fund balance, reserves reserves for economic uncertainties and leadership instability. Similar areas, like I said, from last time when we were here. These were the questions in this section that had no answers. I'm not going to read through them all, but just so you know, you know, we're going to have time for questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, I'll be glad to take them. But with every no question that is answered, we have a narrative as to why we indicated that it was a no answer. So you can refer to that. I do want to point out on this one, this is just a continuation of the budget monitoring. As I mentioned, your county superintendent of schools has been working with you over the years and pointing out some of these areas of deficiencies. We answered no in the oversight letter in terms of the detailed fiscal stabilization plan. Again, I know you have one now, but at first interim, at the time, it wasn't a detailed plan. And so you hadn't fully implemented the things that they were working with you on within those letters. So that's just an example. With collective bargaining unit agreements, there's some timely things here. You have to have things completed, there's processes with this, and you can read that in the report as well in terms of when the board approves a disclosure or bargaining unit agreement through the disclosure process, and when that disclosure is brought forward. So there's a few procedural things within this section. And in some cases, if the district did not provide evidence to us that they were doing something, we couldn't answer it yes. We have to answer no if we don't have enough information. So while, for example, let me see, the accurate quantification of the effects of bargaining agreements, it may well have been known. We just didn't see evidence of like a document that had that. And with deficit spending, this is self-explanatory. You are in a situation where your deficit spending in the current year by, I believe it's about 12 million, the second year, 19, the third year, 29. That's as of first interim. I know that's changed somewhat. But the deficit spending is a situation that it's going to get you in big trouble with your solvency. So it's good that you're working to address that in the form of your implementation of your stabilization plan. Enrollment and attendance is also very self-explanatory. You've been in a declining enrollment pattern for the last several years. It's been about 1,800 students. And because LCFF funding is so closely tied to enrollment, anytime you have losses there, it creates that loss of revenue. And unfortunately, even when you do make budget reductions, it's harder to, you can't keep the same pace with the loss of revenue and reducing expenditures at that same one-to-one thing. So anytime you have declining enrollment, that's an issue. Enrollment losses to charter schools, we just didn't see evidence of that. And same with the limiting outgoing interdistrict transfers, that's students leaving the districts. We didn't see any kind of procedure or policy that was being followed with that. Same with this one, we didn't have evidence for it. So with deficit spending, it erodes your unrestricted general fund balance. You have to have that minimum 3% reserve in all years. You just continue to erode that as your deficit spending. And you're right on the cusp right now, 3% in each year. And so you're right at that minimum. That's really difficult position to be in, because if things change, there's not a lot of time to shift if there's going to be any material change to your situation. And finally, leadership and stability is the last area. And whenever, again, we talked about this already, when you have change in leadership at the CBO and the superintendent level, it just creates instability for the district and that change. And it just makes everything a little bit harder, to work with. An area I want to point out to the board is about your board policies and administrative regulations. They are not occurring as frequently as we would like to see. And we understand that you have a district policy committee and you work collaboratively, district leadership does, with the policy committee. And perhaps you can look at how that is working in terms of process so it could be more efficient, so that the board is getting more timely recommendations to update or adopt new policies that just seem to, from what we were hearing in interviews, take a little bit of time for that policy to work through. It's great that you have that collaboration. Just like to see them happen more timely. And then training for the board. I understand that it's not like a cohesive plan for you all to have training annually on budget, finance, and governance. And so we would strongly encourage the board to have a plan to ensure that you all have that training at least every 2 years, actually. So current conditions, we know you approved a stabilization plan in February, and of second interim, the board approved a positive interim report certification. And your unrestricted general fund deficit spending is still, you're still deficit spending, and you're meeting those minimum reserves, 3% in this year and next, and 4.37 in 26-27. But what I want to point out is the state budget outlook doesn't offer you any relief. And the solutions have to be here locally. And I know you're working on that. We know you're working on that, and we commend the district for the work that you're doing on that. That's what's going to turn this around for you, but you have to stick with that plan. You have to implement the plan. I know you've had plans in the past. Maybe they haven't all come to fruition, but it's very important that you completely implement your plans if you want to stay financially solvent. So continue to commit and follow through on those items in the county superintendent's letter from January, including implementing your plan. And continue that collaboration that you have with your county superintendent of schools, your county office, and with your fiscal advisor. Continue your transparency and cooperation. That's half the battle, is just the collaboration. There are a lot of fiscal experts out there. There's a lot of people that can help you. You just have to ask for the help. Continue to work on that deficit. Continue to implement your fiscal solvency plan. I know you're still recruiting for a CBO. Make sure that it's someone that's highly qualified to do the job. It's not an easy job. And continue to provide training opportunities and support for your business office staff who are supporting the functions in the office. Put procedures in place for a timely 24-25 audit. If you're using the same audit firm, they generally have the same procedures, and so develop a system to make sure that you have a timely audit. And use our FHRA tool to prioritize the areas that you will address in terms of the systems that need improvement. So when we talk about fiscal distress, there's a couple of things here. When you compare a district that's going to make a successful turnaround with one that won't. Successful districts recognize they have a problem. They don't hide the problem. They take advantage of the help, and they work collaboratively. They're part of the solution. FCMAT has faith that this district will make a successful turnaround based on the actions you're already taking. And we, as I said, we commend you for that work. It's hard work. Listening from the audience with all the challenges that you face, including things going on right now with your reductions in force. They're not easy. We want to put our kids, first, and it's hard to do that when we're in a situation that's requiring such drastic measures, but it must be done for you to retain your local control of your district, because we're here as part of an intervention process, right? And if you don't follow through on this, then it will essentially land you in a position where you lose your local control, which means that the board is no longer seated. There's some changes, and you don't want that. That's not what's best for kids. So do your work, continue to do your work, and we are here for you. What questions can I answer, if any?
We'll open it up for questions.
Madam President, if I may, I just want to thank you for being here. I think it comes at a perfect time, right? Because as difficult as these decisions are, we become complacent, right? We obviously didn't get here because our prior administration was doing a good job, right? We had a real issue. I seen this happening back July 2023. I seen the pattern. I knew I many times brought it to the board's attention that we were off in the doldrum, and it was going to come back to roost. And I want to thank you for being here, because it's a reminder of the seriousness of where we're at. Obviously, you hear the community. That was a very small amount of people here today concerned about how we're delivering services to children. And obviously it doesn't feel good when you're letting employees go. They have kids in school, they got mortgages, they got car payments. It's very, very difficult. And so the final comment of the fact that we could lose control if we don't act and act correctly. is obviously where we don't want to be. And I believe as painful as it is, we're going to be better at the end. We're going to learn that, we can't depend on one-time money to run a school district. And that's what we failed to do. We had a bunch of money during COVID. We didn't plan when it was going to leave. We hired a bunch of people in permanent positions with one-time money, and it was absolutely reckless. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. Us being aware of what goes on the day-to-day here is unrealistic. We all have work. We do this part-time. We depend on the superintendent. We depend on our finance department to know what's going on. And many times what we've seen, at least what I experienced, is they were holding information. We weren't getting information. We would ask for information and it wasn't being disseminated. So it was the perfect storm, but I truly believe that we're going to be a better school district after taking on this very serious challenge.
And we absolutely, believe that Superintendent Esparza is heading in the right direction with all of that and the information that they're providing to you all. I want to reiterate that when we talk about there's some things on our indicators of risk, like mismanagement of general fund. We're not implying that that's happening right now.
Absolutely not.
Just to be clear.
No, of course.
Other questions? Trustee Arredondo?
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the information. I read the report, and my only question is, so FIGMAT's here now. Will FIGMAT, be here, 3 months from now to just make sure that we're still everything is still in compliance? Or
No, you'll be working directly with your county superintendent on that. Like I said earlier, there's certain triggering events where we will come in. And so we're here now. We won't be back unless your situation worsens, and you'll be working directly with your county.
But we don't want to see you back.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we love you guys, but we don't want to be back here either.
The weather's great, but we don't want to see you back.
Yes.
Other questions? Trustee Acuña?
Just want to thank you. I know we spent some time together when we were going through this. I think at the end of the day, though, you've done your job. Now we have to do ours. I mean, that's the end of the day. We saw the same report back. I was here. Some of us were here, and we didn't listen. Again, I've said this many times. It gets misconstrued out there by how I say it. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, the board is responsible for everything. I'm responsible as a board member for everything that happens. And I think the most frustrating thing, it's been alluded to a little bit though, is that we had that conversation about that, is the board, you go back and you see the board made decisions, but they weren't implemented. And a lot of that is very frustrating because while we're still responsible, it's kind of hard to tell someone to do their job. And then when we let them go, and then everybody's like, why you let go of people? They're not doing their job. So I think, again, another warning. We have one back then. We're having another warning. But at the end of the day, you've done your job, and we need to do ours now. And then as hard as it is with the communities, many of the programs and the things that we're cutting are things that all of us, myself included, have championed over the years. But we are where we are. And, if you want people to just go along and do whatever, then, I mean, I don't believe we are those people. But as you just saw in the election, the community said, these are the people we want on there, and it's our job to kind of get it done now. But thank you for all your work. And again, none personal, but I hope I don't see you for a long, long time.
Likewise. Okay.
Any other questions? No? I do have a question. So you mentioned that the structural deficit. Can you just elaborate a little bit more? What does that mean? And
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked it.
Break it down.
Sometimes we talk in our little jargon that we have in our industry. A structural deficit is when you are continuing to spend more than you're taking in, and there is an imbalance between that revenue that you're bringing in and the things that you're spending it on. And so, like I mentioned, with declining enrollment, your revenue has shrunk, but maybe you haven't shrunk expenditures to meet that change. And so instead of instead of making those reductions, you've continued to spend more than you're receiving. And so without some action, that's what we call a structural deficit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Just real
Yeah.
quick, I just want to remind you that just because you have money there doesn't mean that you can use certain monies to cover that structural deficit. And I think that part of it is what, as you said, masked it during the COVID time, is that if you have a grant that has millions of dollars in, and you use it one time, that doesn't fix your structural deficit. It kicks the can down the road for a year, maybe.
Right, and sometimes those monies can't even be used for general purposes.
Correct.
So when we say structural deficit, let me elaborate a little bit more and say it's in your unrestricted side. So monies that are, you're free to spend in any discretionary way that you choose as a board, depending on your priorities. But there are legally restricted programs that you cannot use that money. A lot of grants are like that for regular classroom teacher salaries, for example. So there's when we say restricted, is exactly that. You have to use it for a certain purpose. So the structural deficit is in the unrestricted side. And when that's happening, that's what we call the structural deficit.
So we might not necessarily see the impact to grant funded restricted programs per se.
That depends. That just largely depends on what the program is for, the allowable
they-
uses for that, and whether there are commitments the district's made. Right.
Anything else?
I'm just gonna add, and therein lies another program, because a lot of what's happening and what actually our assistant Soup just mentioned, the funding for the grants are there, but the individuals that are currently there might not be there. So they're saying, well, they're eliminating, no, they're not. The program is still there. It's just because of the bumping that different people are going to be in there. And so they're thinking that we're getting rid of programs, which we're actually not getting rid of programs. And so it's a balancing act, right?
Right.
But again, it's what happened during COVID. Part of it was that we were using monies that we knew was going to eventually end to continue to run. And that's why, like you said, it masked our structural deficit.
Right.
And that is something that we have to, if you see a line item and there's a lot of money, that doesn't mean that money's coming every single year. That means it's a temporary time, and you can't,
That's right.
going back to your point, it has to be that unrestricted fund where it's just our base money that comes in, and that's where you get in trouble. So
That's right.
even though you look like you have a lot of money in that year, you actually don't have it every year.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for this, we'll just get the report, but I think the fiscal manager will still be with us for some time, correct? Till the fiscal advisor, yeah, okay. AJ, yes. So AJ will still be with us for a couple more months until we follow through with our plan. Okay, so now moving on to action item 9.1, appointment of board representatives to the various boards. So we do have a number of board committee assignments. Would we just go down the line? Not too sure how okay. So I think everyone should have the form in front of them for the committees. So we have the audit committee. And I have my trustee Acuna, myself, and trustee Garcia. I don't know if, are we? So trustee Garcia is fine to stay and yeah.
There's a lot of vacancies because this one still has board member Galarza on it.
Okay.
That was here. Initially, it was simply at the time to move board member Torres into those empty ones, but now if there's something that would just encourage you, if there's something in there that you'd like, maybe, speak up about it. That was just a kind of a move until we got back to this point, to just kind of assign you where board member Galarza was at. That doesn't mean that that's what you say. There's other committees that you want to bring up.
So audit committee, do we want to keep the three trustees, or do we want to, is there anyone who wants to? Yeah. Okay. Budget committee, we have trustee Cunha. So it says here president officer required. So I think that'll be yes. And then vice president, so Sylvia. And then is trustee Garcia is able to stay as well, or?
doesn't, it's just a general person, so is that fine with folks? Okay. The Ed Foundation, so it says here, president, officer required, and then we have trustee Paz.
Well, I was never called to meet as part of this foundation and but I'm okay. I'll step down. I don't have the time right now.
Okay.
Position, I'd like to get it going. I think one of the projects that we're potentially talking about is a project, the golf tournament. I can know a little bit about it and probably could help have an effective event.
Okay, are folks okay with that? And it looks like we had trustee Gonzalez as an alternate. Should we select
I
an
was just going to
alternate?
mention,
Uh-huh.
based on some other conversations we had, having an alternate is not really necessary.
Okay,
So unless the board has any objections, I would think it's just the
Just the
assigned
two.
person and the board president as it is, and then we don't really need an alternate because the way the structure is, there really is no need for an alternate.
okay,
So I would recommend that we just eliminate that one and just keep the two that are there.
okay, so it'll be myself and trustee Gonzalez, if that's fine with it, everybody. Culture and Climate Committee. We have trustee Garcia, trustee Paz, and Arredondo. Objection to. Okay, moving on, Curriculum Committee, myself, trustee Acuna and Arredondo. Anyone eager to? Okay, in place of. A little too quick. Okay,
No,
oh,
I did already.
I'm sorry. Anyone, did you, so, trustee Tortes will be in place of trustee Acuna. Trustee Arredondo, are you okay with staying? Or are you?
Yeah.
Okay, or did someone else wanna?
I actually wanted to go back to culture and climate because I'm looking, we don't have a lot with Mr. Tortes. If you wanted to be part of the culture and climate, that's fine. I can step down. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Garcia,
Tortes and,
and Arredondo.
okay. DLAC Committee, trustee Garcia and Arredondo. You okay? Yeah. Yeah, okay, okay. Head Start Advisory Committee, so you have trustee Galarza, so would trustee Tortes would be okay with staying?
Someone else wants to step in. All right.
Sounds like it, no. LCAP Leadership Committee,
I would recommend that you be on the committee as the president for the
Okay.
LCAP. And unless somebody else wants to be the alternate, I can just switch with you as the alternate, but have you as the president.
okay. Trustee Garcia, namaste. Okay. So it'll be myself, trustee Garcia, and then trustee Acuna as the alternate. Facilities Committee, trustee Gonzalez, Acuna, and Arredondo. Are we okay with staying or anyone?
Good saying.
Okay.
Okay, unless anybody else wants to.
I'd like to make a recommendation to start a maintenance and operations committee.
We have a lot of committees. Are they all necessary? Are they all meeting?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we have a quite I think
Or
what
could it be part
what
of
we can maybe do
facilities?
within facilities
Yeah.
is have a line item of discussion on maintenance and operation.
Mhm.
And rather than starting a whole new meeting, a whole new committee. It's the same personalities. We
Mhm.
have our maintenance and operation people in the same meeting, so maybe we need to highlight specific items of need within the agenda of the facilities. committee.
Was there a particular reason why you felt it was necessary to have a committee?
I've had some board members ask me.
Oh,
But I was the one that brought that up after, especially seeing our high schools. And again, it wasn't about going back and seeing what's happening, but that we have to have a plan, I think, to get back to where we need to be. I know some of our elementaries are looking better now that they're doing some things, but our high schools, some of our middle schools, I mean, I think it's just a big job. And again, I think we need to have a plan. And again, more of my concerns was more of, do we have a plan to get where we need to be? And what does that plan look like? When do we start? How do we function? And part of that is what we've been talking about, just, accountability of getting, from point A to point B.
I agree, and, we were having a discussion earlier in closed session, talking about a potential amount of money that we would get every year that we could use to do upgrades. I've always said it doesn't matter. It almost seems when we have schools that are over 100 years old, Mr. Arredondo was announcing that we need work at Peter Pendleton. We're just celebrating all this great work at 6 schools. We're all proud of it. And it almost like when we get done, we got to start again, right? And it's just, I think I challenge our facilities director that we have, and I know they're doing a great job of paying attention to the grass, making sure that the schools look as best possible. But do we need improvement? Absolutely. Can we use more money? Absolutely. I just don't know if it's a situation where I think it's more of an assertive, calculated initiative by our staff and making sure that we're paying attention more so than us reminding ourselves that we need, because we need everyone.
Like a beautification project.
So where we're at.
Okay.
Is
So
there
we're
a way
not
to,
paying-
sorry,
Sorry, no.
is there a way to implement like a ranking program? I don't know how it works, or rankings for safety, because I feel like we just had a
We already have it.
volunteer.
I mean, that's the facilities. We've done that for facilities, and again,
Mm.
they're two different things, obviously. And so I think an emphasis on, again, a more of a maintenance plan about kind of implementing, even if it's a long-term plan. I'm not expecting everything to be done tomorrow, but I think a long-term plan of how we get from point A to point B, and some of it is easier than others. Some of it may be overtime, right? I mean, just not to, not that we want to do that right now in our current state, but some of it may just be, they just need more time. Some of it may need financing because we're gonna have to fix certain things. Drains don't work, right? And every time it rains or doesn't even rain, when the sprinklers go on, there's puddles, right? And again, these are challenges for them, but we have to have a plan of how we're going to address some of these things. And it just seems that it's more at the high schools just because they're larger campuses. They have more things that are going on. So.
President, Mr. Korea, if you remember, we actually paid, right, for a study that turned out to be an accounting, a facility study that turned out to be a maintenance and operations study that turned out to be a report of
Wish
all
list.
we needed, right?
Wish list.
And I don't know, we spent $20,000-$30,000 years ago, but it is challenging everywhere we look, there's need. When we get done with everything needed, it's now needed at the beginning, right? And it's just, it's really challenging staff and them bringing what they feel are priority projects, which I know they have.
Right.
And then us making sure that we can pay attention and make sure that we can find money to try to do something about it.
Well, to your point, the FIGMAT report, and one of the questions was, do we have a 5-10 year facilities plan? And the answer was no. We've done them, but they weren't, as you mentioned, actual facilities plans. They turned into wish lists. They turned into, we started the program, and not to get off because I know we're doing this, but we started the process about boundaries, and then we stopped, and now we have to start over again because now we have to spread it across the whole district. And so these are the things that are all part of those facilities plans. Where's the new construction coming, where the kids coming, and it was all part of that. Yet we technically do not have an actual plan, even though we probably paid for 3 since I've been on the board, maybe 4.
Trustee, I don't know if Trustee Garcia, if you finished your thought or had anything else to add.
Well, it just feels like, I mean, because you're both on the facilities committee and you're still having discourse, so
I
We
don't
don't
know.
talk, but we don't talk about maintenance at the
Maintenance.
facilities.
Right,
committee.
right,
That's the point.
I certainly don't know how that works, so is there a need,
Yeah.
or is this like a special, I know we just talked about spending money, but is this a special board meeting to look into that, or what do we need to do to
Cause I,
look at this further
Mhm.
and get a plan?
Yeah.
But the 5-year plan, 10-year plan.
Um, what I was gonna recommend, because we do have a number of committees, but it looks like maybe the audit committee and budget committee maybe could be merged. Um, I don't know where the thoughts are on that, and maybe the curriculum and programs committee
Yeah.
as well. And then that way there's an opportunity for that maintenance committee, and maybe we need to work on delineating a little bit more clear what that would look like. And at least differentiate like what would fall within facilities committee and what would fall within the maintenance committee.
And again, my original concern was, how do we come up
we
with
have
a
a plan?
plan to do that? Is it through a committee? Is it through facilities? That was to be brought back to the board about how do we address that particular
I
issue?
see.
So an idea on that, because I recall that report, it was presented to us and the
think they
cost
want
was huge when we looked at everything that is needed and more now is probably needed. But I think maybe the missing link there is that we take that plan, whoever, not we, but the facilities or the new committee starts with that plan. We don't start from scratch. And then we developed, okay, given now that we know all of this and maybe new information that you all might have, let's create a plan. How are we going to tackle this? How is it going to be funded? Where do we
I
need?
mean, idealistically, it's supposed to make sense, but really what we got in the report was a list of the schools, a description of the schools, the location of the schools, but, and everywhere needs, right? So really, where do you start? Right?
Exactly.
I think that's gonna be put on the onus of that is gonna be put on the gentleman that does that every day, right? That pays attention to where, and I know they do that now. They have a list of priority projects that are eminent, that need to be addressed. I don't know how you do it. And then you gotta understand too, guys, is that this is moving, right? What's important today, it might not be important tomorrow. There might be something emergency important tomorrow. And so I don't know. I really believe that it's a challenge for our facilities director. And obviously we can pay attention to it in facilities. We're already hearing it. But I don't know how often this maintenance committee would meet. I don't know what the maintenance committee would talk about. I don't know what they would be reporting to the maintenance committee, but maybe there is a need. I just don't know.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
maybe that first request for the maintenance committee, and it's not the members obviously, but the staff, is to look at what's out there, what they have, and to come up with a plan. And then they present it to the committee, right? Like, that's maybe, yeah.
Facilities committee, or maybe that's what it is really getting an audit from our maintenance and operation gentleman, right? And I know he has reports already. If he doesn't have them finished, he hasn't started. But like I said, the tough one about this is that, we gotta do work here at John Kelly. We need work at Peter Pendleton. And when we get done there, we gotta go back to Palmview. And it's been we're a vast school district separated over a large geographical area with a lot of old schools, right? And that's the reality.
So in looking at this, the possibility, like I mentioned, the beautification plan or preventative maintenance plan within the facilities committee, like at that point, you do a lot of the facility stuff. We talk about like the architects, buildings, where we're going like North Shore, but for them to have an opportunity during that meeting, I
Yeah,
guess.
I think we should have maybe it's just a line item. They give us an update at every monthly meeting of what they're working on, what's important and
Is there such a thing as a subcommittee of the committee? Like, where does it end?
It was hard for everybody to meet.
I mean,
Can I request parties that we do get a report from maintenance religiously at every facilities meeting, and then we can start there. And if you think we need to expand it, or if you think you need your own committee, like if you don't have enough to do, we can give you your own committee.
That's not a.
It's very hard to actually say what I'm working on right now. Why? Now. Well, meeting full, six and full, 4,750.
Wow.
But understand the education part of it. This stuff is a new in-house. Sure. We can put that in our plan. I did it, I also work on, analyzable or groups. So I had that, then this would be the file. All people. House.
Hmm.
Painting project, already started, have John telling you after everything. That's another 5-10 years back.
When you get done with the last one, you gotta go back to the first one.
Exactly.
Hmm. Okay. So would we be, since trustee Acuna brought it up, would that be okay to add it just as a standing item on the agendas? Okay.
And I would still support the merging of the other committees, so budget and audit being one committee
Okay.
and the programs and curriculum being another one. So that obviously changes the composition, particularly for budget and audit because it
I'll get
has
off.
two required.
I'll get off.
Okay.
Okay, so we're merging audit and budget. It says in the budget, so does that mean that the president and vice president would be required?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just,
And then the third person, oh, well, it's
Garcia,
trustee Garcia.
yeah.
So, okay. Is that okay?
she
Yeah.
just switches with me and
Okay.
we're good.
Are we okay with also merging the curriculum and program committee? Okay, so, huh, so we
Just
have
me. So,
just you?
Acuna Galarza's
Oh,
in program.
yes. So then, okay, so then,
doesn't
Oh, so
change
it
it.
doesn't change anything.
yeah,
I'm already on the
Yeah.
curriculum committee, so don't change it.
Yes.
okay, so it'd be myself, Tortes, and Arredondo. Okay,
And curriculum?
Oh, no?
It's Vargas, Acuna, and Arredondo.
I
Because we're
thought we had
eliminating
switched
the
there.
program.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I don't know that Tortes wants another.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I
so
can come off that committee and Mr. Acuna can take it.
I just
I'm
come
already
off
on the
too.
curriculum committee.
It's Vargas, Torres, and me on the curriculum.
That's what I had, yeah.
Oh, because we had already done.
We had done
Yeah.
Torres.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I
that's
can
right.
come off.
No, I'm good.
We'll assign it to Mr. Acuna.
So just to be clear, we're merging curriculum committee and program committee, so together. It says it was myself, Tortes and Arredondo. On the program committee, we had Acuna and what would have been Tortes, so then
Yeah.
trustee Acuna is just
Just
stepping down.
eliminate mine and I'm good.
Yeah, okay, yes.
I was already off of it.
Okay.
Yes,
Just eliminating the program and moving those
Yes.
responsibilities.
okay.
Yeah. it's fine.
And policy legislative committee, we have trustee Gonzalez, Garcia, and Tortes. Is that okay? Okay, 2x2s. City of Coachella, we have trustee Acuna and Gonzalez. City of Indio, 2x2, we have Garcia and Acuna. Is that okay? Okay. City of La Quinta, we have trustee Arredondo and Acuna.
Nobody wanted them, so I got them all, I guess.
County of Riverside Board of Supervisors, we have Galarza, so I'm assuming trustee Tortes, would you be okay with that? And I have myself, I don't know if anybody else wanted to. No. We haven't. No, so, I mean, there were some concerns that were brought up in North Shore recently, and I was thinking that it might be a good idea to schedule something. And have a conversation, and especially, yeah, I've never, I don't know when the last time they met. So what I have asked, I know Mari works closely with Anita. Anita's a sub in our office and she's been setting up, they've been setting up these 2x2s because I asked, because the only one I've been to is the La Quinta one. And so I asked, when are we doing it with Coachella? When are we doing it with the Indio? Well, who else do we do it with? And so now they've
Okay.
been setting up these meetings.
Okay. Desert Recreation Center, we have trustee Garcia and is it right?
Should be district.
Desert Recreation District, trustee Garcia and Arredondo. Is that okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah. County of Imperial, we have trustee Galarza Gonzalez, so trustee Tortes and trustee Gonzalez. Is that okay? Yeah. College of the Desert, we have trustee Acuña and Garcia. Okay. And CBWD, trustee Gonzalez, trustee Paz.
If somebody else wants it, I can give mine.
What? Trying to get off this stuff. Yeah, that's fine. I'll go.
Okay. So trustee Acuña replaces trustee Paz. Riverside County Committee School District Organization. How does, we have trustee Galarza and trustee Arredondo as the alternate. Do you wanna,
I can come off of that.
I think you're on there.
I'm on there? Oh, I see. Are you sure?
Mr. Galarza did both of them for last, because it was both the things, so.
Is the president has to do that or? Oh. Okay.
Huh? Don't have
Go
to.
for it. Oh, I don't, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm asking if it's like, I mean,
What I'm saying is his name was on there because he was the president.
Kept them. We just kept them because he liked going to the meetings.
I mean, if someone would like to get the experience. Yeah, oh, great. Which one?
Both the same.
Yeah, they're both the same.
It's the same.
Yeah, okay,
And
great.
they meet at different.
Thank you, trustee Tortes. I love this. Okay. Okay. I think that's it, right? Okay. Okay, great. That's a lot. Okay.
I make a
Oh,
motion that we accept all the changes for the committees.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. And moving on to action item 10.1, Tara Hinchin, requesting approval memorandum between University of Southern California, behalf of the USC Ed Policy Hub at USC Rossier School of Education and CB Unified.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 10.2, Socorro Sanchez requesting approval of adoption of M-Class Dibbles and Lectura as the state mandated K2 literacy screener.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carried. Action item, business services, 11.1, Armando Osuna, approval of fiscal year 2024-25 and 2025-26 transportation services plan.
I'll second.
All those in, any questions? Sorry, I've been skipping the questions part. No questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. 11.2, Armando Osuna, approval for bus frame repair and velocity truck centers.
Second.
Questions? All this in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carried. 11.3, Armando Osuna, approval to purchase 2 rolling jacks and Napa Auto Parts.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions?
I just comment, we talked about this during the agenda review. It is actually to fix the rotary lift. And these are the parts that help us. We can't use the rotary lift currently because of the jacks. So we're basically fixing the rotary lift by getting this equipment to do it. So I had just a little particular about what the cause is for. We're not just getting 2 jacks to lift up something. It's so the whole process will work. Good. So just a comment on that.
Anything else?
Yeah, you don't need to come.
Okay. Where were we? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Action, Human Resources, action item 12.1, Dr. Monica Makowicz. Approval of second reading of BP 6158, independent study, and AR 6158, independent studies. Let's have a second. Trustee Garcia, second. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Action item 12.2, Dr. Monica Makowicz, approval of first reading for BP 5145.13 and AR 5145.13, response to immigration enforcement. Do you have a motion?
I'll second.
Second. Questions? I had a question. I had a question about if within this policy it included staff as well.
Yes, it did. It's a new policy.
Okay.
It's brand new. So we don't have
So it's
any
not just
revisions.
students, it's like we're also keeping staff information confidential.
Yes, and it's actually immigration training is required, like California Ed Code for us.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 12.3, Dr. Monica Markowitz, approval of resolution 2025-38 regarding a settlement and public employee relations board case number LA-CE 6923E. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second. Any questions? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 12.4, Dr. Monica Makowicz, approval of CVUSD school calendars for 2025 and 2026 school year. So I think those were provided to us.
From the calendar committee, I want to thank them for working on this. The biggest thing that came through was students would like their finals before winter break. So that was the biggest concern. And then counting. And then we gave you options, winter break being 2 weeks, spring break being 1. And then the other option, same thing with the finals before break, but 2 weeks and 2 weeks. And then right, and 2 weeks for winter break. So you have a few options there. There's multiple years. It's a 2-year calendar. But when you're doing that, I have to thank Director Martinez for making, and my secretary Lorena Gomez for making sure that the dates and the number of dates are equal on both sides and doing the counting and the math and making sure the conferences and finals are all in there.
How about the college testing challenges that we've
That is why the students are asking for finals to be before winter break.
And all these plans address that.
Yes,
Okay,
that's the common theme between all of them.
okay. And so what is the difference, or can you go over, like, I'm looking at the 2 weeks, 2 weeks?
So you have 2 weeks at winter, 2 weeks at spring break.
Oh, and that's 1 year and another year.
Yes.
So it's the exact same thing. Okay.
I'm gonna go with whatever you guys want, because
plans?
my last one graduated, so I used to like 3 weeks during the
I
winter,
think
but
2 weeks.
it doesn't matter anymore, so Sylvia, I'm gonna support whatever you support.
I think 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2 weeks. Which one is that? So draft 2.
Oh, wait. Yeah, like 2 weeks spring break,
Which
2 weeks of winter. No.
Oh, I'm just asking, which ones are you recommending?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever we recommended was my last 2 weeks, but.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks, 2 weeks, what's it?
Weeks for spring break? 2.
What do you think, Mr. Tortes?
Yeah, I agree. 5.
2 weeks, 2 weeks?
Draft number 2.
Draft number 2.
Yeah, so which one is 2 weeks, 2 weeks, number 3?
Actually, I think it's draft number 3 would be 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
Draft number 3.
which is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth on the list on the.
Yeah. I just mixed up all.
It's
So it's three,
because one of them is for 25, 26, and the other one's
Okay,
for
the,
26,
so the blue ones are
27.
26, 27.
That's it.
Okay,
So, but it's the same.
so draft 3.
Is 2 weeks, 1 week. Draft 3 is 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
Oh, I think your mic is off. Your mic was off, so I can't. Sorry. Okay, so draft 1
Draft
is
one.
3 weeks for winter break and 1 week for spring break. Draft 2 is 2 weeks for winter break, 1 week for spring break. Draft 3 is 2 weeks for winter break, 2 weeks for spring break.
Yeah.
I like draft 2 because I think it's hard for our families to figure out 2 weeks for spring break. That's me. Any thoughts?
I always vote for 2 and 1, but I've always done that. So, but I mean, I
Okay.
know I got outvoted with the 3 and then the other stuff. So I don't have any kids. So again, my kids are gone and I don't expect grandkids anytime soon. So I'm good with whatever you guys. I'm gonna do 2, 1, but that's up to you
Okay.
guys.
So that's draft. So trustee Garcia recommend draft 2. Yeah. Thoughts? Trustee, this is like, no.
Let's try to, don't know
Yeah.
what you want.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind either one of those, draft 2 or 3.
Okay.
3 weeks during the winter.
Yeah. I
Is
think
that the one you like?
2 weeks, 2 weeks, I think
3
because
weeks in winter.
they
right?
do need a break in the
And one is
springtime,
spring.
you know, like all that energy and it's, the weather's still nice, the kids can enjoy it versus being in the southern. I don't know.
Voting with a majority.
I'll support you, Ms. Paz,
No.
Trustee Paz.
Can I make a comment in regards
Yes.
to that? This is a perfect opportunity for our students to have intervention during the winter and during the spring,
Yeah.
because a week is not enough.
Agree. We talked about, that's why we talked about that last time. That's why
Huh.
we were recommending. So
Okay.
doing an intervention during the spring. Yeah, there we go.
So that would support the parents who, yeah, okay. So then what you're saying is students could have the option for programming
Yes.
during that time. Oh, okay, then that is different.
Yeah.
Cause them just figuring it out at
Yeah.
home, our parents work. I don't want them alone by themselves. And then the food, if our students have their meals here. So if that is different.
Yeah.
So that's draft 2?
That's what we,
Oh, 3.
draft 3, yeah.
Draft 3.
Wait, can I-
Yes, uh-huh.
The
Dr.
one,
Michael.
I do have to point out, the one reason we left the 3-week one on there, the 3 and 1, is because our attendance that week that we usually come back is gets hit by the
El Día
related
del-
holidays.
Yeah,
So
Los Reyes.
my staff members pointed that out to remind you that sometimes our attendance takes a hit.
We do 2 weeks, they take 3 weeks. If we do 3 weeks, they take 4 weeks. So, I mean, yeah.
So do we need a motion for draft 3?
I'll make a motion to accept calendar draft 3.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's no opposed?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Motion carry. Okay. Okay, motion carried, draft 3. Moving on to consent calendar, and I read this correct? Okay, item 13, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the board considers a motion unless board members of the board or staff request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar, in which event the items will be considered separately. The superintendent, assistant superintendent of educational services, assistant superintendent of business and finance, and assistant superintendent of human resources recommend the approval of all consent calendar items. Do I have a motion?
President Vargas, I'll motion to approve the consent calendar, respecting any board member wanting to pull an individual item.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that and Pull item 16.1 just to vote separately on.
16.1, any other items?
Yeah, I have a comment, or before I pull them, we discussed, Assistant Superintendent Macowitz, we discussed a bunch of these items when we're doing agenda review. Did you get answers and resolve from those questions that we had asked?
In terms of the ones for the extra services,
Correct.
they are separated from their workday for those specific people. We do have administrators tracking that and making sure it's not double dipping.
Okay, correct.
Okay.
I'm good. I don't need to pull it.
Okay. Anything else to pull? No? So,
Okay.
we have a motion and a second. All those, what's the word?
Aye.
Support? If all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we now have item 16.1.
I just have to, I take campaign donation from a person connected to Assis Farms. So I just want to disclose that for the public and have this, this item voted on separately.
Okay. Yes.
Some of the other large ag purveyors in the area to maybe make sure that we're getting competitive pricing.
Good evening, board. My name is Carlos Murta. I'm the Nutrition Services Director. To answer your question, Mr. Gonzalez, this year I did not. Being my first year, I went with whatever recommendations we have from previous ones. We do have it in the plans to expand for the following years. We do know that Assis Farms operates a food hub, which represents 50 local farmers in the area. Those 50 local farmers definitely is a highlight for our program as it is supporting our market. But for next year, we definitely do want to go over and expand the list of.
Is that gentleman buys produce from 50 other farmers in the area and then he resells them to us? Is that what we pay him?
That is correct.
So he basically is providing, if you request, 50 boxes of green beans, he basically sources them and then he sells them to us.
That is correct. And there's a big benefit to that as well.
What is the big benefit?
A big benefit for the procurement process that we have to do for every 50 farmers separately. It would be quite a load for our department to go through that work. Instead of doing 50 procurement or 50 bids, we can only do one bid, which that would be represent.
I'm not gonna mention, I have a bunch of them on my mind. People that source a bunch of different row crops that are larger purveyors that can maybe give us, 5, 10 different goods throughout the year, maybe at a competitive price also, right?
I do recognize that
Okay,
opportunity.
so maybe something to look at in the future, and I think this model works for now, but I think it's just making sure that we keep people accountable is really what it comes down to.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, sir.
We had any other questions? No? Okay, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. So one abstention and the motion carries. Item 18, we don't have closed session items. Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Okay, trustee Paz and trustee Arredondo, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.